What's up, guys? Short Stack here, also known as Jaden. In this video, I'm going to be discussing my Kheios deck that I got top 8 with at BSF Richmond the weekend of June 6th and 7th. It's going to be a bit of a longer video because I want to discuss my strategy, how I practice, my team composition, the deck itself, and just go through kind of all the important bits that, and a lot of questions that I was getting in the Vanguard community on Facebook and on Twitter about my run, because I was undefeated in Swiss, and a lot of people were asking a lot of really great questions. So I'm going to break this video up into sections. This first section is going to be the deck profile. Okay, starting with the deck profile, we're going to start with the ride line. So you want to play the... I like playing the Kheios red line. Also, here's the energy crest for proof that it was me. Anyway, I like to play the Kheios red line just because it's shiny. There's no really strategy to it. It's just like, it's part of the deck's gimmick. I've seen some people play the Barrow grade 2 because it just soul charges 2, but we don't need that. We want to select at least soul charge in this deck. For grade 3, Solar Arteria Kheios, cards broken, Lyrical OT, and Dark States OT in one card. Love that card to bits. And then moving on to the Makanis, 4 grade 3 Makani, 4 grade 1 Makani. This is part of our engine. We want to get to the grade 3 Makani as much as possible because we want to do 5 attacks. We want to do 5 attacks as much as possible. Then we play 4 of the order. I've seen some builds play 3. I personally like playing 4. I really want to play this card every grade 3 turn. I think this card is insane. Being able to deck thin, find your pieces, get 10k power, and get a unit for 1 CB. This card is busted and incredibly broken. I want to see this card. I want to see this card going into my grade 3 turns, especially my first grade 3 turn. So in that way we can get set up and deck thin cards out to keep triggers in deck, and we're not blindly soul charging. Then, for Misty's Dragon, I tried it at 3 in the past for the event. I wanted to play it at 4 because I wanted to maximize consistency. I find consistency really important, which is why I'm playing, all the combo pieces in the engine at 4. So I want to find them all. I want to see them, maximize consistency, and make sure that we're getting to 13 names in Soul and making sure that we're getting to our grade 3 Solar Arteria Kheios. Moving on to supporting cards, we play 3 Philia. Dark State Shenri is insane. This allows us to retain hand and early rush a little bit. Putting this behind our grade 2 Kheios for a 23k column is really good, because then your opponent's like, I don't know if I want to guard that, I'll just take it. And then if you get like a lucky crit, you're doing 2 damage in a scenario where otherwise they would have just thrown a trigger at it if it was just a 10k column. And that's a lot. That's a lot. It's a hard decision to make if you want to play the 1 to pass or not. So Philia is insane. It just keeps us refilling our hand. I'll talk more about her later in the strategy portion of the video, because she's really important for kind of why she's important for the strategy that I approached during this event. Then 4 Tizcar and 1 Union the Sky. These kind of fill the same position. We want to find these so that way we can retain hand. Our hand is super important, and we need to find combo pieces, and so it's like, it feels really bad when you're having to discard a trigger to ride, and so finding these allows us to go net neutral in the card economy and retain hand, find pieces, as well as being defensive options, throwing a Tizcar up to guard with, and EB3ing to draw a card so that you can find a PG or some more shield. Is really good. Union the Sky, 15k shield, is really good. Just giving you extra flexibility on defense, but also being a card that you could discard to ride and draw a card. I like this Regalis piece a lot. There is argument to play the Fire Regalis, but for this event I wanted to play this because I just wanted to really maximize hand. I'll talk more in the strategy portion about like what my thoughts was with this deck list and why I played it the way I did. Because so that's it for like the flex piece, like the non-engine, or non-engine, but like the whatever. And then for the one-ofs, or I guess multiples. And then for the one-ofs, we play 1 Quenlu. I was playing 2 before the event. For the event, I decided to cut it to 1 as part of the strategy that I wanted to approach with the deck. And then 1 Alluring Beginnings, because it's a 15k shield that if you have in Soul, you can use. Having extra shield in this deck is really, really good, seeing as we don't have hand. It never came up for the event. I don't think I remember using it at all, or maybe I used it once. It was infrequent, but this is a really good flexible piece to have if you're missing out on like your Union in the Sky in hand, or we're going to like our PGs. If we're missing like the Sanctitude in hand, it's like, oh, this is a free 15k essentially that you just get to use from Soul, and that's like insane. It's a really good card. And it works on any of your units, so you can throw it on your, like if you got a grade 1 Makani in the front, you can throw it at that in case you didn't find your grade 3 Makani. So, yeah, so that's it for those, for like kind of the core engine and like main deck. And then moving on to like the triggers and like generic, or triggers and like mandatory pieces, we play 4 PGs, 3 effect PGs, and then the Sanctitude. I've seen some builds play 4 effect PGs because it's a normal unit for the grade 2 skill and the grade 1 skill. Honestly, since we don't have hand in this deck, I like playing the Sanctitude for the Stride matchup or anything with triple drive, because you want to retain hand. We're ending our turn with like 5-6 cards in hand, and so you're having to, going on that first grade 3 turn, it's like having this is like, oh, I'm playing against Night Rose. It's like, okay, let me throw this at their Obadiah, and then it's like, cool, I have 5 other cards in hand to guard with instead of 4, right? Albeit that is a 3 attack turn. It's just, it allows you to be more flexible and retain your hand a bit better, which is why I find it super, super important to play it at plane. It does suck when you soul charge it off of the grade 2 and the grade 2 skill, and you don't get any value, but that's what we have to play. It's just, it's free. And then for the triggers, for the 1-of triggers, we play a draw, 1 effect draw, and then 1 effect crit. Not effect crit, sorry. Over trigger. Blue OT specifically, because you want to rush down, you want to apply a lot of pressure, and so hitting this, it's like it's a crit. It allows you to maybe get one of your PGs back, or another combo piece you're missing for the following turn. We really try to utilize follow-up here, because we're not killing, most of the time we're not killing by the first grade 3 turn, we're killing by the second grade 3 turn, so turn 4. So being able to get a piece back if you hit this and apply a lot of pressure and put your opponent to 5 is really, really important. We're not trying to play this defensively. This deck will not grind. We don't want to grind. We want to turn 4 kill the opponents, and yeah. And then the draw, just 1 effect draw. You just play it because it's it's a 10k shield and it's a unique name. If you have the FR triggers, you can slot those in. I'll talk about that more later in the what changes I'd make portion of the video, because there is a lot of changes that I think not a lot of changes, but there is changes that you could make if you have the money to afford the FR triggers. But this whole deck can be played without them. It's I think I did the calculation, and it was like an 8% increase in efficiency with the 13 names in Soul. So it's like each unique card is 7.5% efficient. If you have the dual named effect triggers, they're 15%, like 15 and a quarter percent efficient, which is like great, but you can still do it with the deck without them. That's just if you have the money, right? Anyway, so yeah, moving on to the other triggers that are like multiples. We play 2 effect fronts. You need shield. You need shield really, really bad. I wish I could play 3 effect fronts, even with the Drajuled ones that are coming out, the Drajuled master deck set coming out with the dual name triggers. I think you still play 2 and 1. Just because like when this comes up as like you damage check it, you draw a card. That's great. Or if you drive check it and you draw a card, like just having more hand is really, really good. And then you need shield, so that's why you play the 2 fronts. And then checking a front feels insane, because like on your first grade 3 turn, you're going 23, 33. If you don't have Quenlu, 23, 33. And then it's like 23 plus 18, which is 41. And then 33 plus 18, ideally, right, if you have back row. 23 plus 18, 51. Sorry, 33 plus 18, 51. And then you check up front, now you're hitting for 51, 61. That's like insane. Those are like perfect numbers against a grade 2. And then even going going on to Persona right turn, you're hitting for 33, 43, and then on the Makanis, and then you're hitting, and then you got 43, 53, and then whatever back rows you have, if you got like Ophelia or something, then you're hitting for insane numbers. It's just that hitting a front is just like makes it to where they have to spend more cards to guard in hand, and against decks like Bob, they have a lot of hand. So, those are the like one of triggers, or like the not, you know, anything that isn't 4 heals, which you can play any 4 heals. I don't recommend effect heals, like, because you really just need the shield, and having consistent shield is really, really good, because like the restand heal would be really good against Bob, but you're losing out 10k shield in other decks that don't restand traditionally. So I just like to be consistent and play 4 effect heals, or not 4 effect heals, sorry, 4 normal heals, just to have a consistent 15k shield. And then you play 8 crits. This is really important to play the 8 crits. You want to hit hard and hit fast, and so just maximizing on your crits to help just apply pressure early, and then if you check a crit and put it on a Makani that has a Quenlu on it, now they're forced to like throw a bunch of cards at it since they can't PG it. Kind of insane. Like in an ideal world, you're running one of each dual name trigger, swapping these out to play one of each dual name trigger, or even you could go as far as swapping out like, you know, whatever crit you don't like. I think I'll probably swap out this Flinty Slasher for that FR crit if I ever get it, or if I ever slot it in, or yeah, ever get it, if I ever get it. So like, yeah, you want to maximize. You just want to hit hard. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Where things get weird is like these, but like that's fine. Not anything uber crazy. But yeah. So that's it for the deck and the triggers. Moving on after this, I'm going to go into my team composition, my matchups, what deck I was most afraid of, and like my strategy, and then how I practiced. Just kind of like giving a well-rounded video of what I find important. So yeah, that's all I got. Okay, so moving on into my team and seating composition and the decks my teammates were playing. So our team name was Let's Go Next. Seat A was Bob Sagra, Seat B was Kheios, and Seat C was MLB, or Majesty Lord Blaster. Why did we choose that seating? There was no strategy. Personally, I wanted to sit middle because I just wanted to sit next to both my friends and have a good time. This whole event, my teammates and I were just thinking, like, let's just have fun. We were playing our pet decks. I know, Bob Sagra, how is that their pet deck? They built the deck before the support came out, way before it was announced, and have been playing it. They played it at BCS in October in Sacramento. They really liked the deck, and so that's what they wanted to play for the event, because it's their favorite deck, and they were happy that their favorite deck was doing really, really well. I played Kheios because Kheios is my favorite deck in Vanguard. It's one of my favorite decks in all the card games that I've played. And then my buddy that was playing MLB, his deck is completely shiny, and he just wanted to play it. So we were just there to have a good time. Nothing crazy. We just loved the decks to death. There was no strategy involved between the decks we picked and our seating arrangement. So then, moving on to my matchups. So, round 1, I played against Bob. I won the dice roll, and I went first. Our team as a whole, 3-0'd that team. We swept them in round 1. And they were playing Eldeglima, Bob Sagra, and I don't remember the last deck, unfortunately, that our MLB player played against. But yeah, round 2, I played against Levy Dress. I lost the dice roll, and I went second. This is a notable game, which I'm going to talk about later when I go talking about like notable games in my misplay and top cut. We ended up losing this match as a team, and I won my game. and I'll discuss that more later. Round 3, I played against Night Rose. I won the dice roll, and I went first. I chose to go first, even though they were playing a stride deck. You have to hit hard, and you have to apply a lot of pressure early, so I don't want them to... it's beneficial for them to be at 10k base on their Vanguard. Round 4, played against Eva. I won the dice roll, and I went first. I took the game, and then I think my team also swept them. So by the point that we got to round 4, we were X2, because we lost in round 3 and round 2. So we were 1-2. So if we lost any more matches after round 3, we were out. So round 4, we swept that team. Round 5, I played against Bob Sagra. I won the dice roll and went first. I ended up killing that person on their grade 2 turn. I drove checked really good and pushed them pretty hard, and they didn't really have a that good of a hand. So I killed them when they were at grade 2. And I was at grade 3. Round 6, I played against Levy. I won the dice roll, and I went first. Nothing crazy about that game. We ended up winning that match, going 4-2 as a team, and made it to Top Cut. The OT did not really define why I won the games. I think I offensively checked it once, and defensively checked it once. It had been in hand for a few games, or been in soul, or just stuck in the deck somewhere. I never really saw it, so that didn't contribute to why, like, I was winning all my games. Like, the dice rolls mattered a lot more, and then also playing smart on my part, which I'll talk about in this next section, about the game plan and strategy. The whole strategy for why I think I did super well, and on top of, like, having fun. The big part of the strategy was having fun. So moving on to game plan and strategy. I'm going to start off with the mulligan priority, and then I'll move on over to my game plan and my strategy and how I played the deck in the event. So starting off with my mulligan priority, there's 3 types of cards I was looking for in my mulligan priority. Number 1, highest priority was Misty's Dragon. I wanted to have the setup for Soul Orator or Chaos. It didn't matter if I didn't have a grade 1 Makani in hand. It didn't matter if I didn't have the order in hand. This was highest priority because I can find everything else. It was nice if I had a grade 1 Makani in hand, and a lot of time I kept it. I wouldn't just hard mulligan to find this. Typically, if I found a grade 1 Makani, I would just put like 3 or 4 back, kept the grade 1, and then I would draw into this because I'm maximizing the copies on this because I really, really, really wanted to set this up and have the setup for Soul Orator Chaos and not be stuck on approaching Fang's Chaos because that card is not good. The next highest priority is essentially 2 cards in 1. Tizkar or Union in the Sky. We want to have the cards so that way we can pitch these to ride so we can retain hand. Because it allows us to not necessarily filter, so to say, but like draw a card, which can then find us other pieces, or guard, or triggers. Like discarding a trigger felt really, really bad to ride up. It happened quite a bit in the event, because sometimes I wouldn't find these, which is totally fine. I'm flexible, but like, you really want to see these, because it's like going first, you pitch, you pitch a trigger. Or, sometimes if I have 2 misdeeds in hand, I just pitch 1, because you only need the 1 for your first grade 3 turn, and then you would just prep for your second grade 3 turn. So it would be like pitch a misdeeds, and then if I had a Tizkar or Union in the Sky in hand, I'd pitch that for grade 2, and then hopefully have another one for the grade 3 turn. So that way you just pitch these, because they mean nothing. They're kind of blanks until you Persona Ride anyway, except Union in the Sky, but like Tizkar's a blank until you Persona Ride, essentially. Because like 5k shield isn't really a lot, especially with the way how hard decks are hitting. So you wanted to use these to keep your hand up or go net neutral in card economy. And then the last one was Philia. Philia being a soul and a draw and a 13k booster is broken. It came up. It was really, really nice when I would be on grade 3 turn. Or not grade 3, sorry. Grade 2 turn. And I could slap a Philia behind the Vanguard and hit for 23. This is really, really important because this is a hard number to guard, because typically 10k it's like, oh, I'll throw 15 shield, like 1 card guard at it, and like it'll be fine. But having this be 23, now your opponent is less inclined to guard this because it's such a big number and they don't want to play the 1 to pass game, that like you hit a crit and you put the crit on your Vanguard, and if you're lucky, sometimes you have like a grade 1 Makani here too, or on the rear or something. So like it's a big number, and it also nets you 2 resources. It nets you a card in hand, and it nets you a soul. And especially going into your grade 3 turn when you ride up over grade 2, if you hit a normal unit, you can just call the Philia back out, and boom, now you got a back row. So Philia was super important. These are the 3 cards I tried to mulligan for as much as possible. Ideally Misdeeds, then Tiskar, then Philia. Really, really important. Okay, moving on to my strategy for the event, and why I made my deck list the way it was. So, I wanted to go first as much as possible. Whether it be winning die rolls or anything like that matters a lot. We wanted to win the die roll because we wanted to go first. We want to hit hard our first grade 3 turn, so that way we can push our opponent to 5, because every deck right now kind of wants to grind while hitting hard, so the longer the game goes, the other decks kind of power spike. Not this deck. This deck does not have hands, so we don't want to grind. We want to hit hard as early as possible. So, for the BOV matches, we go first. We're in a really good spot. Every other deck, we go first. We're in a really, really good spot because we're applying a lot of pressure in that first grade 3 turn. For the Levy matchup, since they're a little bit more defensive, we really want to just early rush a bit with grade 1 Makanis and Philias, and make sure that we're applying pressure to them because they're going to guard early because they don't need a lot of CB to do their game plan. BOV was the deck I was most scared of in the whole event. It was the deck that I practiced against the most with my teammate who had the deck. I practiced a lot against that matchup, and it was practicing against that deck where I came up with my strategy for how I was going to approach the event. The game plan was to not play greedy or overextend if necessary. So, what does that mean? What does that mean? Playing the deck that wants to soul charge a bunch and get to 13 and all that jazz, right? What does that mean? So, by playing greedy and overextending, that would be like building a full board and trying to apply as much pressure as possible. And your first grade 3 and second grade 3 turn. The problem with that is with how hard decks are hitting and how much hand they have. If you commit like a trigger to be a 15k booster, you're going to run into the problem where you don't have enough shield in hand and you're going to die. Because in our first grade 3 turn, we're probably at 2 or 3 CB. We can play with 2. We probably got to 3 because your opponent early rushed a bit. Because if people know how to beat this deck is you early rush it. You push it to 5 and pray. And just like outgrind them in there early and so then that way you can beat the deck. Because the deck has no beginning game, which is why Philia is so important, is because it allows you to have a bit of an early game. So, the game plan was to not play greedy or to overextend. What then this means is don't commit rear guards unless they replace themselves or facilitate the game plan. So, for example, if I was at grade 2 and my opponent was at grade 1, I would maybe commit a grade 1 Makani, and I would definitely commit a Philia. And the reason for that is Makani facilitates the game plan. It gives us a soul charge. So you shove a card to soul. And then it's an 8k swinger. Maybe they kill it. It's fine if they kill it. It generated us a resource. Philia we commit because it generates us 2 resources with a draw and a soul. So Philia is insane. But going into our first grade 3 turn, depending on the matchup, there was games where I didn't even commit any back row. Because I didn't have it. I didn't have a Philia. Or there was no point in keeping Makani on board because it was going to get a grade 1 Makani on board because it was going to get retired. And so because of that, you would just have 3 front row units hitting for 23, 33, and then 23. Or it'd be, yeah, because your Vanguard would be 23k with a crit. Which, like, if they're at grade 2 and they have like 5 or 6 cards in hand, 7 cards in hand, that's enough. That's enough to push them to 4 to 5, especially if you get lucky with your trigger hits. And then all that. So what we then deprioritize, instead of hitting hard, like we hit hard enough, like the good enough, we hit good enough on our first grade 3 turn. And we set up our follow-up. So that means either having a grade 1 order in hand, having Solar Arterio Chaos in hand to ride up into, having a Misdeeds Dragon with enough chaos, another chaos in deck that we can ride up into. So we wanted rear guards that facilitated the game plan or replaced themselves and tried to set up follow-up, because we are not killing on our first grade 3 turn. There's no point in overextending to try to push. So that's why Quen Lu got put to 1. Quen Lu, I noticed in my testing that trying to get the Quen Lu stuff off was overextension. We only wanted to do that if we were trying to kill. If our opponent was at 4 or 5, we wanted to Quen Lu to try to push for that final 2 damage or final 1 damage. So there was no point in the first grade 3 turn Quen Luing and overextending. If we had it, and we had the follow-up locked, we could do it and be comfortable. But I only committed to it when it was comfortable. It's really good in that first grade 3 turn, because then your Makanis are hitting for 23, 25, and 35, which then become, 2-card guards against your opponent. Because now, if they're at a 10k base, they can't just throw a 15k shield at it. They have to throw more, right? And so it becomes, you're less incentivized to throw shield at it. And then, if they take your 25k Makani and they hit a trigger, now they're at 20, but now the 35k Makani is still a 2-card guard. So no matter what, you're ripping 2 cards out of hand for both swings, which is really, really important. But if you don't have the Quen Lu with the follow-up set up, it's overextension. You don't do it. There was a couple of games where I did have that, and it was like great. I found it, I did it, but it was only after I facilitated follow-up. We never committed to it to overextend, because overextension means you have no follow-up. No follow-up means you can't win in turn 4, and if you can't win in turn 4, you've lost. Essentially. So that was the overall strategy, which is seems counterintuitive, because this deck, you want to commit a bunch of rear guards and hit really, really hard. But there's no point in doing that if you're already hitting for big numbers that are perfect, and if you're trying to retain hand. We need to retain hand, so not committing rear guards to use as follow-up and shield, or whatever, more flexibility. So that's why I was practicing against Bov, is, they have Axe. Axe is going to retire my back row. Or not Axe, maybe it's the Mace. I think it's Axe. Axe is going to retire the back row and give them 10k. I don't want that. I'm not going to leave a grade 1 Makani on board. There's no point in doing that. So, I'm going to call my grade 1 Makani out, soul charge 1 and shove at the soul, and now, I'm just chilling. And then the other part of the strategy, too, is you want to find the order. You want to play this every grade 3 turn. This card is broken. Because the reason you're hitting for 23 and 33 is you give your grade 3 Makani 10k, and this also lets you fish a Philia out of soul, or fish a piece you're missing out of soul, or fish a grade 1 Makani out of soul, so you can soul charge another one to get to 13. This is pinnacle to the strategy, and playing this and finding it is really, really important when you're kind of missing that last big push to 13, or 13 names in soul, or that last big push for, more power. So this card's broken. So, in reality, going into your first grade 3 turn, you want to have the order, maybe a grade 1 Makani, and Misdeeds Dragon. If you have all of that, you are in the perfect position. Because everything else ends up following it, doesn't matter, because you're going to soul charge, you're going to find 3 cards off the top with the first grade, with the Approaching Fang's Chaos in the ride line, then you're going to ride up into grade 3 Chaos, and by that point you should have 9 cards in soul with unique names, and then you get to the 13, and then you're perfect. And then once you sit at 13, you just equalize, you just stay there. You don't want to soul charge anymore, and that's why the order is super important, is now that you don't want to soul charge anymore, you then use the order to deck thin out pieces. Deck thin out, another grade 3 Makani that's just sitting in deck, and that way you can filter your triggers, and now your deck is thin. Super thin, so that way when you get to your second grade 3 turn on Persona Ride, you're just drive checking triggers, maybe a blank or 2, but you're hitting hard. And you're applying a lot of pressure, and so that's why this card is super important, is because you equalize at 13, you stay at 13, unique names, you can go over, but you don't want to blindly soul charge anymore. You no longer blindly soul charge going at that point, because you just need to find the 2 grade 3 Makanis, you just find 2, you find the order, and then you find a way to soul Oratoria Chaos, and then you are vibing. You are in the ideal position, because that means now you're not committing rear guards for the sake of facilitating the gameplay. Now you're committing rear guards because you want to kill your opponent. And that's where the Quen Lu comes up, because it's okay, call Quen Lu, give it to Makani, play the order, call Quen Lu again, give it to the other grade 3 Makani, use soul, and then maybe use soul Oratoria Chaos or something else, and so you're able to keep bouncing cards out of your soul and utilizing them for your game plan and pushing. And then if you don't win by your second grade 3 turn, you can do it in such a way where you have follow-up set up and you can push. So that was the game plan, was to not play greedy. If I'm going to take, like, if my opponent is swinging at me with a 20k rear guard, so Bob, for example, if Bob is swinging at me for 25k Yigmashad, I'm going to guard that for the first swing. Even if I'm at 3, I'm not taking an early damage. I'm going to guard that because the restands are going to be bigger and the drive check is scarier. So you guard early, you play super defensive, not greedy. You don't want to take the gamble on things. You're trying to maximize your odds, maximize your... And pray your opponent doesn't hit like the OT, or you even account for the OT. Like, you keep a PG the Vanguard, PG Bov, who's got 2 crit and 3 drives, and then it's like, okay, this Yigma shot is 100 million, boom, let me PG that. I didn't have anyone check the OT at all against me all day, which was, I was very lucky, very fortunate for that. Is at the cost of me not checking that either, but that's kind of what we're facilitating. We're trying to facilitate this non-greedy game plan to where you just have 13 unique names in Soul with Kheios on board and 2 grade 3 Mekanis, and then whatever column is smaller, you have Ophelia. And then that way it's like, okay, this is, you know, this is 23. This is 33. This is 23. Restand these. Hit a trigger. Maybe not hit a trigger. This is 33. Then this is 23 plus 18, 28. This is 51. Right? And then you shove these to Soul, shove the Ophelia to Soul, and you draw a card, and then you're sitting pretty. Because now you have like 6, 7 cards in hand, maybe a PG or 2, and you're chilling. And that's another big thing too, is you, by setting up follow-up, you add a PG to hand off approach Solar or Teo Chaos. And then that way it's like, I'm insulated. You're insulated for your plays, you're insulated for your next turn. So that was like the overall game plan, is we do not want to play greedy. We do not want to, you know, put ourselves in a position that we can't be flexible, and we have to make a really hard decision that might make it to where we don't pay off. And so that moves on really, really well into the next section of the video, which is my misplay in Top Cut, and then also some notable games. I'm going to start with round 2. So round 2 was against Levy Dress. I lost the die roll and I went second. This game was weird and kind of wild. I was put to 5 damage early because they early rushed, and so I kind of was like, oh, I'm just going to lose this game going into my first grade 3 turn because I didn't have enough shield to guard their Persona right turn. So, and the other crazy part is going into my first grade 3 turn, I didn't find a single grade 3 Mekani. I had 3 columns. I had Solar Arteo Chaos in the middle, a grade 1 Mekani in the front, and a grade 1 Mekani in the back. Or not in the front, in the other front. And then like Felia's in the back. I had Jack Diddley, bad time. I thought I was gonna lose this game. I was at 5 damage and they were at 3 or 4. So what I ended up doing is I ended up attacking with Chaos first, since I could only do 3 attacks, and I just wanted the drive checks to get more power. And I don't think they had a PG in hand or anything like that, and they decided to 2 to pass the Vanguard. And so my first check was a crit. And thinking about my odds and everything like that, the deck wasn't super thin. I think there was still a few non-triggers in there, or a bunch of non-triggers in there, and then like I think there was actually quite a bit of triggers because my damage checks were like mostly units. So I ended up was like, well, if I'm gonna lose here anyway, I'm gonna gamble. I'm gonna put it all in the Vanguard. So I put all effects in the Vanguard, putting it to 3 crit and then 1 more to pass. I then drove check a second crit, which was crazy. They 2 to pass the Vanguard, and I won the odds, the odds there, and I put it all in the Vanguard, and they took 4 damage. And it won me the game. They healed at 6, but then they took their 7th damage and they died. And it was a crazy game because I should not have won. But yeah, that was a really notable game. I shouldn't have won, but I did because I sacked my opponent and was able to get really, really good drive checks that allowed me to push through. So that was the kind of big notable game. The other one was the BOV player I played in round 5, where I killed them at grade 2. Because their hand was garbage, and yeah, like they went second, and I blew them up. Going in a top cut. So I was super hyped because it was my first time ever topping an event. Between all the card games I play, I've been playing card games for 15 years, since I was like a little kid, and so I was super hyped about Top Cut, and I was hungry and I was tired. It was just like there was a lot going on, and so like it was a huge adrenaline dump, and I couldn't focus back up, at least not as quickly as I should have, because there's like an hour between Swiss ending and Top Cut to deck checks. So it was rough. But I played against Bob Sagra. I lost the dice roll. I was able to push them to 4 in my first grade 3 turn, and I had enough shield in hand that I could survive. And I made my misplay was so here's what my hand was. I had 2 PGs, 35k shield in triggers, a Persona Ride, and a grade 1 Makani. They were at 4 damage and I was at 4, and they had full board with double restander. I took the first swing and hit a heal. And this is where I made my misplays. The second Yigma shot swing, it was a weird number where I would had to have thrown both 35k shields at them. Or the 35k shield at it to block it. And I decided to take it, hoping to hit another trigger. And thinking that, oh, I can just guard the Yigma shots on the restand. The reason that was a mistake was because it was the greedy play to do. And like I had been saying in the strategy portion of the video, the whole purpose of the deck was not playing greedy. In the Swiss rounds, I played perfectly. I didn't play greedy, played to my odds. No over triggers were checked. That like really, swung the game in someone's favor. Like I wasn't playing greedy, and this is where I got greedy. And I think it was due to me being tired and falling back into habits that I have from playing at locals. Because I play the deck very greedy at locals because it's locals. I don't care. Winning is I want to have I like having fun with the deck. I like doing my game plan. Winning is like not a huge thing. So I took it, didn't hit a trigger, and then I PG'd the Vanguard. They drove check front crit and I think a blank, or maybe it was another front. I don't remember. They put a crit on one of the restanders, and so I PG'd that one, and then I didn't have enough shield to guard the other restander, and I took the damage, hoping to heal or the OT, and I lost the game. Had I stayed at 4, guarded both initial restanders, PG'd the Vanguard, and then PG'd the 2 crit restander, and taking the other one, I could have gone to 5. And then I had a Persona Ride in hand, ready for the follow-up, and I could have clapped back, and I think won the game, because I think I had Quen Lu set up as well. Which was really unfortunate. It was a crazy run. I mean, I was 6-0 in Swiss. I think I could have gotten to 7. Our MLB player ended up losing his game, and then our BOF player won their game. Had I won, I think we could have gone up to top 4 and maybe able to push farther, which made me sad. I wanted to play Mount, I wanted to keep going, but I was very happy with being able to just top 8 with my favorite deck and do really, really well at the event. The feedback from the community was super wholesome, and like I was getting a lot of questions on Facebook and on Twitter, and people wanted to see the deck list, and I was like, it made me super happy. And it was nice to see that people really, really like this deck as much as I do, and wanted to know all this information. So yeah, those are my misplay notable games. It was a good run. So now moving on to what I would change about the list. So this is going to be crazy. I think I would not change anything about the non-triggers. And the reason for that is I really liked the way the deck felt the entire event. I played it very, very differently than I normally do. Some of our round 4, we played against some friends from back home. This is when I played against the EVA player. We played against some friends from back home here in Oregon, and so which sucked because like it was a team kill. But we played against them, and so they even noted that I was playing this deck very differently than I normally do. And so I don't know what it was. Maybe I felt like I was in my A game. I was drawing really good hands. The deck didn't feel like it was shooting itself. So I really liked the way this list plays. I liked overall. I don't think I changed anything about it. Philia is a really great addition to the deck. We need like, people might call me crazy for playing 4 Tiskar because it's like, oh, what happens if you don't get to the 13th name, or like you get a duplicate. It's like we have enough ways to kind of filter through to where we can get there. What I would change, and this is a bit of the crazy part, is the trigger lineup. And by trigger lineup, I mean the triggers that we play. Because, like I was saying earlier about this deck doesn't need the FR triggers, there were a few games where I did have to overextend a little bit to be able to facilitate the gameplay and to make sure that I got to 13. So, if you have the money, and it does help that when we get the Jeweled deck, master deck set later in the month of June, to play the dual named triggers. I picked up after the event the FR dual name triggers that already exist. These are not necessary. I want to make that very clear. These are not necessary. If you have them, play them. If you don't have them, totally fine. You can do well with the deck without them. As you can see, I'm living and breathing that I did well with the deck without them. They just increase deck efficiency by 8%. 8-ish%, if I'm doing my calculation right. So, I still have the front in the mail because I bought one of each as a gift to the deck for doing super well at the event and doing me super well. What I would take out, I'd keep the draw, swap it for the dual name. You could do that with these ones. You could do it with the master deck set. When the master deck set comes out, we actually, for the 2 fronts, we play the Donji front and we play the Jeweled front. The one that comes in the Jeweled deck, or the FR Donji front and the one that comes in the Jeweled deck. And the purpose of that is because then between those 2 cards, that's 3 names, 3 unique names, which is insane. So you're just, all these do is increase efficiency of your deck. There is enough unique names between the triggers and your PGs and your main deck, non-trigger units, and your combo pieces to where you can play without. And then for the crits, you want to play the one Sophie Bell and play the one Jeweled crit, and you probably take out the stem deviate, and so you just, and that helps with the efficiency. But you can play the deck with your 8 favorite crits and your 4 favorite heals, the blue OT, and then 1 draw and 2 effect, or 1 effect draw and 2 effect fronts, and that's completely reasonable. There might be a world, and I was talking to someone about this on Facebook, him and I have been going back and forth about the deck list going into the next format, and after the Jewel deck comes out, there might be a world where we play 3 fronts to just have more shield in hand, because the deck needs hand, which is completely reasonable. It does suck when the draw does come up, because the draw is an effect that comes up, but it's one of those things that's not crazy. That is the only changes I would make. If you don't have these, it is fine. If you have them, play them, not a big deal. It just helps when you are at that point where you don't want to overextend, or overextension is bad, that these kind of make up for that with the increase in efficiency. Reaching 13 was doable. It was doable. The deck never shot itself, and I never got stuck on Solar Rotelio Kheios as the Vanguard and never met. I had that happen in day 2, on the second day of the event when I played in side events, so it does happen. It happened in 2 games in the side events, causing me to lose the games because of it, but that doesn't happen very frequently. Like, in all my testing, it worked out pretty well. Other than that, the list is designed to just get value from discards and rear guards to retain your hand and to build your resources. The only time you ever commit anything is when you're trying to push for game, or if you got really lucky with 2 Philia in hand or anything like that. Maybe you committed Tiskar because you have enough energy, to be able to make your Vanguard swing scary, because ultimately on the Persona Ride turn, they're going to PG the Vanguard regardless if you got a rearguard or not, so you actually don't need to put anything behind it. 33k Twin Drive 2 crate is scary. So, they're going to PG it, and then they're going to take the Makani swings, so the Makanis are 1 damage. And then it's like, oh, if the Makani swings are massive, and they're taking it, great. Do all your stuff there. You don't need a center back row. So yeah. That's the only thing I changed. I try to throw in the dual name triggers if you have them. If you don't, not a big deal. They're going to be hopefully affordable when the Master Deck set comes out. It is kind of cringe that, like, there's, like, an oversight, I think, on Bushi's part that, like, these matter and that these are super expensive. I spoiled myself because the deck did me well. And I'm very, very proud of how my team did and how I did and all my friends that drove up to Richmond with me. And we carpooled. There's 5 of us that carpooled together, and I'm very proud of my teammate playing MLB, TJ, aka Light TCG. I shout him out for coming to the event and being a teammate and having fun with us. It was really, really fun to play the event, and you know, the next day hearing people talk about like me and like how everything went, and yeah, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful. It was a very fun event. Met a lot of really great people, played a lot of really great games, did a lot better than I anticipated. Like I genuinely came into the event with I almost played out a Gleamer for the event because I wanted to win more than I wanted to have fun. And I don't really like playing out a Gleamer. I don't think it's a very fun deck to play. Like, it's funny and it's like, but it's not fun for my opponent and stuff like that, competitive event or not. And my friends give me to play this. This is the deck I know the best. I've been playing this deck for 2 years. Long time since I got into the game in Overdress Set 9. It's a deck I've been playing since then, and so they were like, play this, and it worked out really well. This is a good format for the deck, and yeah, I want to thank the Matt Cave, and I want to thank my friends for being there and supporting me, and my teammates. It was really nice that we had a Both player on the team, who Julia played out of her mind all day. TJ was having fun, I was having fun, and like my teammates were having fun, and so were my opponents. Like, it was a fun event. Coming out of it, I didn't feel bad. I felt really, really good, and I was really happy to get this crest, the Dark States crest, as a little memory from that event, and doing well. So, yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm more than happy to answer questions on Twitter, Facebook, in the comments. I just wanted to make this while the momentum was still there, of people wanting to see this list and kind of getting my thoughts on it and why I made the decisions I did with my deck list. So yeah, prior to the event, I didn't have the FR triggers. I would have played them if I had them, but I didn't see a reason in investing in them, and it was fine. It was a good time. So thank you guys. Really, really appreciate it. It was really cool to see the community feedback. So anyways, cheers.